My optimism of last week has evaporated a little. What if I'm too successful? What if Jason regresses to such an extent that he cannot function properly at work? Perhaps I am worrying unnecessarily, but I will need to make sure that his little boy mindset is restricted to our relationship and does not seep over to his relationships outside the home. At present, even in our relationship, Jason sees himself as a man who just sometimes likes to pretend that he is a 2-year-old boy with me as his mummy. Will he be able to cope when he surrenders that position and sees himself primarily as a little boy, with me as his full-time mummy, and he just pretends that he is a man, when at work or in social situations with others? This will be a fundamental shift in his perception. Will he still be able to cope in the big world as an adult? It's something I will have to watch out for. I just hope that both he and I have the skill to deal with it. The other thing that is worrying me is that we both want children, admittedly me more than Jason. The further I get along the road to transforming Jason into my permanent little boy, the more inappropriate certain activities will become. The loss of these acts does not worry me too much. To be quite honest, Jason is not exactly wonderful in that department, a combination I think of the small size and his inadequate technique. These times with Jason has always been only mildly exciting at best, and in recent times just painful. It became painful when Jason began to have difficulties achieving delight. The more he tried, the more sore I got and the less confident he became, which made him just act more in a frenzy of effort. About 18 months ago, during one of those so-called love-making sessions, I intuitively started to pat him on his back with one hand as if I was burping a baby, while positioning my other hand on the back of his head as you would support a newborn infant. The response from Jason was almost immediate, and ever since I have been able to bring up Jason's little milkis to squirting point using what I have come to think of as the baby burping method, and if that doesn't say something about his subconscious need to be treated like a baby, I don't know what does. It is, however, the result of this act I want. I want a child, not just an adult baby like Jason will be. I want a birth child of my own. I am confident I can look after them both, and I know Jason would enjoy some milk coming from those parts he so loves to nurse from. Perhaps we might get lucky in the next few months, but we have been trying for 5 years without success. The 17th of May. My growing sense of loneliness crystallized for me tonight, and I knew I needed to have a friend I could share this journey with. My diary, though helpful, is no longer enough. This is a big decision, as up until this point I have told nobody about Jason being an adult baby. In the end, I rang Sandra, my dearest and closest friend. I know Jason would be terrified if he knew, but I think it's for the best, and it's not something a little boy needs to know about. Sandra now lives at the other end of the country, but we keep in touch at least twice a week by phone and emails. I first met Sandra when we were both doing our training as preschool teachers at the university. She was a few years older than the rest of the class, and she intrigued me. She had already completed a liberal arts degree and then spent the next 6 years traveling the world working in a wide variety of jobs, before coming home and deciding to do her training as a pre-school teacher. I was immediately attracted to her. She was witty, with a faintly cynical approach to life which, while I couldn't match, I greatly admired. While I would sit in lectures never dreaming to challenge what the lecturer said, she was not afraid to do so and would often interrupt to question a point or bring a feminist viewpoint to the topic. Although courteous, she was ruthless if she thought a man was treating a woman in a misogynistic way. Everyone knew that the little children in her class would get the best of feminist education. Jason and Sandra have met on a number of occasions. The first was when I invited Jason to a class social event. We were not engaged at the time, but our relationship was serious. Sandra and Jason got on well enough until Jason made the mistake of using vulgar language, which Sandra immediately challenged. It was a rocky start, but subsequent meetings together have gone well, partly because Jason is very careful around her, and partly, I suspect, because Sandra has gone out of her way to be nice to him for my sake. Sandra's response to my phone call was superb. She listened as I poured out my heart and tried to explain the nature of infantilism and how it affected Jason and our relationship. She asked good questions, gave no advice, but promised to get back to me once she had read the websites on infantilism that I gave her. The 18th of May. Another phone conversation with Sandra. She found the websites on infantilism fascinating. Seemed to be pleased in a satisfied kind of way that so many men wanted to be treated like babies. Made me laugh with some of her comments about sissy babies. It felt good to have a laugh. Somehow it brought a lightness to the situation with Jason that I had not experienced before. Her easy acceptance of Jason as an adult baby pleased me. I had been concerned that it might make her contemptuous of Jason, as she can be very critical of men. On the other hand, she has a wonderful kindness and warmth toward little children, and it was that I was banking on, as well as her support of me. She asked me questions about Jason's childhood and I promised to email her a short history.